waste any time. Straight into the draft. Nico and Azir removed from the side of GENG. The Pantheon perma red side ban that we have been seeing later and later into this tournament remains the same. Vi will join alongside it, and I wonder what the priority will be for these two Titans.
Both Varus and Taliyah still up and available here, two kind of conspicuously absent champions. So we have to see, does T1 want to look for a trade of OPs, or are they going to be banning one of those out here?
GENG, the first three bans, all playable in the mid lane. Two only there, of course, with the Azir and Victor. Nico with the flex to support, where it's incredibly popular as well. T1 side, two junglers banned so far out of those first three. We've already mentioned the Pantheon, so very powerful throughout this tournament. But that Varus you bring up, Isaac, will be the final ban for T1 before the picks roll in.
Feels like it's going to be Taliyah first pick then. Taliyah just has been so strong at this event, but it feels like such an obvious trap that T1 are laying. Makes you wonder, will GENG still feel confident to slam it in? Has been so effective. Of the champions with these globals, semi-globals, Taliyah to me is by far the best performing at this event, 10-4, even with one of these champions that has been so common.
Well, one of the good things for T1 here, two of her favorite pairings in the Vi and the Pantheon are those powerful junglers that T1 banned out. And now we'll see how they're ready to respond to the mid lane pick. GENG focusing on that mid lane in their first part of the bans, obviously getting this very powerful blue side pick for the mid lane. But T1 is going to pick one of the best blind pick tops, you would have to say, on the current patch in the Gwen, as well as locking in the playmaker in the jungle, the Jarvan for owner.
Jarvan so early in the series is a bit of a surprise. Normally we see this come out much later when many other champions have been banned away. I expected a jungle response, but GENG want to remove both the Lucian and the Braum from the pool early, and this is an effective bot lane powerhouse.
Yeah, it makes it really interesting here because now there are some different options for T1. Because we didn't see, you know, an early jungle pick here, you can really start to target the jungle pairings very heavily. Taliyah does want setup. We don't have point and click CC here from the bot lane, you know, from the Braum. It has been incredibly successful at MSI though, but you are going to want hard CC from somewhere, right? To be able to really set up that seismic shove from Taliyah. Faker though on the iconic Orianna here in game number one. Ori plus Jarvan, classic combo here, can look to attack that Taliyah. One gang forces the flash, the next might just be Jovi's death.
Very desynced in terms of the roles we're seeing in the first half of the draft here, though. Yes, mid lane drafted for both sides, but then the bottom lane duo slammed so fast for GENG. They knew they wanted this Lucian Braum.
And I just think that we're going to see T1, continue to attack Xin and more AD jungle pairings, right? Because that is what they're going to be looking for, really limiting what Canyon can go towards.
Both the Poppy and the Lee Sin, I think, can be very effective matchups here. The question is, for GENG, they can remove things like the Rakan. Xayah Rakan is a tried and true T1 favorite on the bot side of the map. I wonder if they do consider Rakan to be that problematic, or if instead there is something else higher on the priority list.
And Jovi, you know, not only is he incredible at all champions, specifically on the Taliyah, 20-3 all time on this pick. So it is one that has been synonymous with his success. Really does excel on it. He is such an excellent laner. It allows him to get push on the champion, affect the map, which is really what you want to be able to do.
I mean, the challenge with Chovy is finding a champion that he doesn't have a positive win rate on, simply with how dominant it has been.
23 is a bit more than positive.
You're definitely right. The Wukong going to be removed.
Yeah,
okay, so Poppy is still an option. If they do go for the Poppy, GENG's engage would be limited. They'd have to look for more engage on the top side of the map, but that would be quite risky when playing into something like a Gwen. Alternatively, Canyon's Lee Sin, it's feared, and it's also a very good matchup into the Jarvan. Can also pair up quite nicely with the Taliyah with potential setup.
It is really interesting, right? Because you can totally see the thought process here. You're saying, okay, we're going to limit all of the engage tools from jungle as far as physical damage junglers. You didn't go for a hard engage on the support, and the good engage champions in top lane are things like the Ornn, which Gwen already has a really good matchup into. So they are trying to kind of paint GENG into a bit of a corner here and force some bad matchups. But it is okay to still go Ornn and go down on CS against a Gwen and still have that value in a team fight. So I wouldn't be shocked to see something like that still.
I really think we're looking at a Bard game one for Carrier. Locking in the Jhin, a pairing that we've seen a couple times from Gumayusi and Carrier. Guma's Jhin is something that he's super comfortable on. He's brought out multiple times in international competition. It seems though the Canyon's gone more of the defensive route, and we're going to get the Sejuani Jax. I mean, a very common combo that works very nicely together. Jax synergizes with the passive from the Sejuani and can match up into the Gwen very effectively too.
A lot of pressure here on Canyon as the main engage for the side of GENG. If you can find picks or flanks with the solo laners, there's success opportunities there, but that Sejuani really is the go button for the team. Final pick of this first draft will be the Alistar here for Keria to pair with the Jhin against that Lucian Braum bottom lane. Isaac, I'll go to you first. We see all 10 picks for the first game here of our rematch of the upper bracket finals. Which side has the edge?
Honestly, I think I like what GENG have more. You know, I do think Chovy playing the Taliyah, being able to get the push in this matchup, and then you have such a strength in the top lane with Keen on the Jax, Canyon and him. That combo is incredibly powerful. Braum has been so successful at actually shutting down the hard engage that I think T1 is kind of trying to draft for. So I do have to favor what GENG has.
Very much agree. I feel like that the Braum is great into the Alistar. T1 felt they needed a little bit more engage to work alongside the Jarvan. I feel that Jhin synergizes nicely with a lot of range, but paired alongside the Orianna, it's a little bit more of the wombo combo. I think T1's composition wants to do a few too many things, and I think that GENG's laning is just going to help them get to a mid-game point where they should have the advantage. Game one, I do prefer what GENG brought to the table.
The crowd is ready here in Vancouver. One final best of 5. We saw these teams go head-to-head only a few days ago in that upper bracket final. It did go the distance as they traded blows back and forth, and now we get one last dance to see who truly is the better team at MSI.
We saw them recently meet. We've seen them play so many times in the LCK, but the last time T1 and GENG faced off in an international finals, Worlds 2016, as SKT1 and Samsung Galaxy, Faker and Ruler, were still on their respective teams in the respective roles. It is crazy to see how these players have stood the test of time, still at the absolute pinnacle of League of Legends esports.
Runes on your screen right now. Both supports starting off with that Summoner Spellbook has been very potent throughout the course of this event. We've been seeing a lot of creativity. We've been seeing a lot of opportunity show up from the timings of these smite steals, teleport plays, all sorts of clever gambits from the supports this time.
I mean, we saw it, you know, even just in the series yesterday, Keria tracking the uses of smite in a fight and going in and being able to steal this. This is the all-time head-to-head between these two teams by year. So as you see, we're going through 2016. Look how one-sided it was to SKT1 at that time. But in the more modern era, this becomes more and more even overall as GENG became stronger and stronger and started to dominate regionally. And these days, it really is GENG who has been running the show in the LCK, but it has still been T1 that have the international dominance, that seem to have the edge when things go outside of Korea.
Over the last few years, though, when it comes to MSI specifically, it has not been T1's tournament. The last time they showed up in a final was back in 2022 against RNG. 2023, they finished 3rd. Last year, they finished in 3rd again. It's GENG that are the reigning MSI champions and the holders of that title. And it's just beautiful to see the MSI champions face up against the reigning world champions.
Exactly. I mean, it's just so much story between these two teams. I mean, last time, as you say, they were in the finals is more recent, but last time they actually won MSI was back on the Huni roster in 2017.
Gumayushi taking the worst end of a trade down here. That Lucian Braum, I commented how quickly this was locked in back in the draft. GENG clearly had a plan for the bottom lane in this game one.
And Duro hasn't even used his heal. Like, you see how much lower Guma is on health. That's with Keria spending his heal. Guma does have biscuits, so we'll have the additional biscuit to pop there to try to regen some health, but the early trading going so heavily towards Ruler and Duro. And this matchup can be quite tough for Gwen as the game goes on. So if you do get behind early, it's going to be very problematic for Doran. Jax definitely outscales in the side lane, especially with the pairing of the Sejuani. You expect Jax Sejuani to be winning pretty much all of those 2v2s.
Keeping my eyes on what both junglers are planning on doing. Right now, it's going to be harder for Oner to contest that top scuttle, given that Keen does have pressure. He's going to find another nice trade against Doran. Also in the mid lane, Faker being pushed underneath his tower thanks to the wave clear that this Taliyah is going to have. Keen just playing the matchup beautifully, chipping away at Doran's HP bar. I imagine that Oner is going to be forced to go to the bot side of the map if he wants to get himself a crab. But bear in mind, there's push down there as well in favor of GENG.
And it can always get scary here. You know, Keen really wants to get the crash because if you can have Doran pushing away from his tower, he is playing TP Ignite. You can be very vulnerable in these long lanes without the flash. Of course, Ignite very strong in these all-ins, you know, if it is a 2v2. but no flash means often you get ran down by the simplest of ganks if you're overextended.
Well, the nice part for GENG, control over all 3 lanes early on with the push makes it easier for the jungler to feel confident taking the Scuttle Crab like we saw with Canyon up here in the top side river. Makes it easy for those solo laners to know that the jungler can easily shadow and respond to a play if need be. Nice seismic shove there from Chovy's 20-3 Taliyah. We want to see this pick have that shove early, have that presence in the lane, and then after he unlocks the ult, be effective with the Weaver's Walls, make the plays happen. When we saw these teams go head-to-head in the upper bracket final, game number 1, the first kill, the first big fight didn't really happen until the Void Grubs had spawned, and I wouldn't be super surprised to see a similar state here in the finals.
I mean, especially game 1. Every player going to be locked in, super focused. You got to get used to the stage, you got to get used to the noise, the environment. While these players have so much experience, there's still that degree of time required as Doran takes an unfavorable trade, but he's chasing Keen down.
Yeah, Keen ignited here. Doran just going to make sure that he trades as aggressively as possible on this Gwen. He does not have any flash. He wants to play with that ignite to build advantages in the lane and make sure that he doesn't fall behind in this matchup like you were talking about earlier that can get so scary if you do.
Really can, but great job there by Duro. Is able to hold the wave fully. And you can see now trying to actually chase down, forces the flash there. Keria could not get the wave to crash. Guma is heading back down towards bot. He's not actually going to go for a lane swap, so this is going to mean Ruler is going to get a little bit ahead as far as the experience, a little bit ahead as far as the CS. So nice small play there from Duro, and does net small advantage for them on that bot side.
Yeah, and Ruler just making sure he does the minimum amount of damage that he needs to. Keep all these minions alive, make sure this wave state stays frozen right where it is for as long as it can be, while his support takes his recall. And you can see both supports heading back out of their bases at the same time right now, as Keria's pathing is more directly back towards bottom lane. You could see Duro was walking more between bottom and mid, seeing if he needed to respond to somewhere else, as Canyon shows up here in the top side river, but there is a control ward from T1 in the Pixel Brush.
Yeah, and Canyon could obviously tell it. As soon as he got within range of that Pixel Brush, immediately Doran turned around, so Canyon says, all right, the gank is spotted, I'm not actually going to bother going for it. Didn't have eyes on where Owner could be, so of course you don't know if that's a ward or if Owner is just in that brush and he could be getting jumped on.
Top laners continue to trade. You can see the lead that Keen has been able to build up in the 1v1. We've already witnessed firsthand. He's a level down and he's...
Yeah, Keen with the level 6, going in after Doran, takes him down to 250 HP. The Jax with nearly a kill's worth of gold, built up just from his farm lead, from his pressure early on, as Duro and Ruler want to go aggro in the 2v2 bottom side, but it doesn't turn into a whole lot of anything. Both these supports very good at playing defensively, as you could see Keria with the Summoner Spellbook swap, going over to the Ghost there quickly on the Alistar, but it's GENG with their push in mid, with their push in bot, going after the Drake. T1's jungler up in the top side, shadowing here, making sure that there's no opportunity for Keen to try to dive Doran. 52-35 in farm. Doran will be able to equalize some of that, but because Owner was drawn up to the top side to protect Doran, that means Canyon secures the first Drake for free for GENG.
GENG are leveraging the strength of their laners. We talked about it in the draft, but their ability to get pushed pretty much across the map, to respond well to what T1 have brought out in terms of what they brought into game 1. And that Alistar last pick, yes, it does provide you with a little bit more engage, but as we're seeing in the bot lane 2 versus 2, it's difficult to contest those waves into the face of a Braum. Another wave is going to be pushed underneath the tower, and mid, Faker doing a really good job of keeping ahead in farm, but the rest of the map is lit up blue in favor of GENG.
We have to remember this is Doran's first ever international finals here. Has had that reputation of not being able to perform internationally, but he has been very good, I think, for T1 in this event. But the lights shine a bit brighter in the finals, and especially when it's your first international finals, you know he's going to be feeling that pressure. So a lot of eyes going to be on Doran and how he can perform against Keen, who I think has been the best top laner at MSI and has been, just that little bit better.
Doran was given so much credit in terms of T1 even being able to qualify for this tournament. He had a standout performance. In particular, we all think very fondly of his Gragas, the champion that he did bring out in their Game 5 yesterday as well. And so far, yes, in the matchup, he is struggling, but you're completely right, Azael. Eyes will be on him to see how he impacts this game, as On the opposite side, it's Duro, his first final. Expectations so low for the young player joining GENG, but he has risen to incredible heights as the Grubs start off.
The Grubs, once again, could be the battlefield. GENG trying to make sure they're around here for maybe a smite. Carry with a Hex Flash over the wall, tries to go in for a little bit, but Unbreakable Will already required. GENG backing away for a moment. If Alistar's ulti falls, it's very difficult for him to continue participating in the fight. Chovy and Faker off to the side as GENG will move in. They will take control over the pit. They will secure the third Grub, a 2-to-1 Grub count favoring GENG. They'll come out on top in the objective scrap as neither team wants to overcommit for the fight.
Yeah, as soon as Carrier lost that ulti early, he knew it was going to be trouble. Keen will have to back off here.
Yeah, Keen trying to get away from it. The Ignite is used with the final volley of needlework. Keen dropped down to 100 HP, but it's 100 more than Doran would like. Keen still has his ulti available. Teleport can return him to the lane immediately thereafter as well.
Yeah, and critically for GENG, because they got 2 of the 3 Grubs, they do get credit towards the objective feats there, so there are 2 out of 3 on that. They got the first Dragon, they got 2 out of 3 Grubs, so they only need 1 more to complete the objectives feat here. And
Really
Keen
cool.
is just going to TP top.
I love the way in which Chovy's playing against Faker on this Orianna in particular. You'll notice that when he's facing off against Faker directly, he walks towards the direction of the ball, and he kind of hopes that Faker will overshoot his Q, which means that the W then ends up missing. It's given him a couple of HP trades going his favor. The farm, though, still ever so slightly in the favor of Faker. He does have a small gold lead, but right now this early game is very, very close. Very much what we expected here in game 1.
Exactly. Minute leads one way or the other in most places. The biggest one still the difference between the farm in top laners. Keen more than a couple of waves ahead compared to Doran here on this Gwen. And again, I want to remind everyone, there is no flash on the T1 top laner. It means it's even more dangerous, not just in the context of the 1v1 against the Jacks in the side lanes, but participation in the team fights. If you go in, if you mistime the Hallowed Mist, if you don't go at the right timing or angle, there's no way out.
I mean, the Ignite is almost always worse in a 5v5 than having Flash. It can be really powerful in that 1v1, but like you say, sometimes even if you do go in at that right moment, if you just get denied, by some sort of CC, it can be difficult to actually close the gap onto some of these carries, especially Ruler here, who is going to have Duro kind of glued to his side. You have to expect in a lot of the fights, and that is going to be the primary target that T1 are wanting to look for.
A very slow opening 11 minutes of game number 1 here in the finals. Remember, game number 3 in the upper bracket finals, we had to wait more than 20 minutes to get our first blood. Hopefully, won't be the same story here in this one. But in general, gentlemen, I would have to say that the slower game state often favors GENG. When the scraps happen earlier, when they happen more often, T1 seems to be more in their element. But when GENG can slow the game down, they seem to be very comfortable.
And the slower the game, the higher the importance of that first fight, right? Because often you do have those late first bloods. The rewards are that much greater. You're much stronger when you win the fight. And if it is decisive, you can sometimes knock multiple towers off the map right thereafter and really turn it into a game that gets out of control very, very quickly. But both these teams incredibly even thus far. We'll see if T1 wants to challenge at this next Dragon to deny that feat being claimed here for GENG.
Looking at the itemization, I think T1 should be hesitant with the Essence Reaver completed for Ruler. This Lucian is scary. So T1 not really in the best position right now, but I look at some of the vision that they do have. With the TP invested from Doran, Keen not going to have that TP available either. T1 are contesting the wards, and Faker gets the push in mid.
Okay, Chovy has just teleported back to the tier 1 turret in mid himself, as that vision is being taken over by Owner and Keria in this bot side river. Canyon and Ruler now have the opportunity to step up and try to clear some of it away. Defensive trap line laid down by Gumayushi's Jhin as well, if GENG tries to step further into the T1 jungle. Now another control ward shot at by Gumayushi, but Jhin not particularly adept at dealing with those control wards, as GENG once again in control over the river for now. Important to note, neither one of the top laners has teleport, but Keen's will come off of cooldown here in about a minute. Canyon face checking into the brush. Owner and Keria find him. Faker in tow. GENG with a 4-man attempt, starting up the Drake already. Canyon's gonna be the one to tank it. Duro and Chovy keeping a defensive position off to the side. Keria steps forward, immediately popping the Unbreakable Will as Gumayusi wants to fire a deadly flourish over the wall. Keria, half HP, Unbreakable Will down. GENG still with control over the objective. Owner ready to challenge. GENG still trying to maintain control here. Gumayusi off to the side. Can open up with a curtain call if he needs. Deadly flourish, not gonna find a target. Weaver's wall looking to block him away. Beautiful engage coming out there from Faker Shockwave. The Ocean Drake goes over to GENG, but they've already lost a man. Support for support as Rulers knocked down next. T1 with a 2-for-1.
Beautiful engage there. T1 had their eyes on the fight, and it was a difficult one to execute on because Gumayusi is on the side, split from the team the whole time. And you're thinking, how can they actually navigate this fight as a result? But he got an early chunk on a Chovy, and as Chovy went to the side to throw down the Weaver's wall to help him secure the Dragon, T1 find the angle to actually go for the fight. And it was a beautiful engage there by Owner. Great follow-up from Faker.
Keep your eyes on the Orianna ball. While the smite does come through, the Shockwave connects onto 2, and the positioning of Gumayusi also contributing with the ultimate on the flank. Keria actually ends up dropping first, but T1 is quick to respond with 2 kills of their own.
Exactly, and you saw what I was talking about. As soon as they see Chovy is not riding in the wall, they know he's going to be late to the fight. So that is why there's the instantaneous engage. They see the angle from which it comes. They know Chovy cannot participate in the immediate start of that fight. And as a result, the HP bars on GENG were too low by the time Chovy got there to do anything.
So the trade then is GENG, they get the second Drake, 2-0 on that stack now. They secure the feat of neutral objectives like you were talking about earlier, but that very slight gold lead that we've been talking about so far does swing the other direction now, about plus 500 for the side of T1 as Keen wants to get a little bit of damage here, but Owner shows up in time to prevent the demolish proc onto the turret in the top lane.
And you can see T1 really wants to defend that tower because they know now if GENG gets first turret, that is feats of strength going their way. So those towers, I think, will be defended very strongly here by T1. They're only 1 kill off the feat of warfare here and will be looking for that first brick of their own. But it has been mostly Keen with the push on the top side, and he does have Demolish, so if he can ever get access to that tower, it is quite dangerous.
You'll notice Faker pushes out that bot wave, already roams up towards mid. They're ready and in a position to contest this Rift Herald. GENG, after putting a bit of pressure down onto the top side, did invest a lot of vision, but now T1 have reclaimed it. They're the one to start off the objective. GENG will know that this is happening, but given Chovy's positioning, no TP available, I don't think that GENG can contest.
Exactly. Chovy's teleport still a few seconds critically off of that cooldown. Weaver's wall came up, but it can't reach from all the way down in the bottom lane. So T1 with the timing, with the control, will seize the neutral objective.
But notice GENG is pushing on this bottom side. They're looking for first tower there, and they're just going to try to rush this down because they know if Herald is summoned, they'll likely lose a tower of their own, but they don't have another minion wave here, and T1 is going to try to rush for it. Both teams really trying to defend this hard.
T1, they've got the positioning over the wall with Keria as well. Duro wanted a TP in, but the first turret already goes the way of T1, and the third kill will do the same. The Herald's ready to charge, and T1 is mowing them over. The turret, the kill, and the tier 2 to follow. It might have been a turret and bot for GENG, but T1 take everything in mid lane.
A misstep from Duro as he tries to defend the mid-tier 1. If he can just slow T1 down, there's an opportunity, but now Chovy's making a play of his own.
Chovy wants to get something back here in the top side. Weaver's wall fires out. Remember, there's no flash for the Gwen to try to get away. The unraveled earth flies out, and Doran goes down. Chovy gets his kill.
Yeah, Doran goes down swinging. Couldn't quite finish off Keen. He didn't have the skip and slash to get over the wall there. Owner was trying to sneak into the brush. Would have been warded out regardless, but good play from Chovy, getting something back on the top side there with Keen. But that TP from Duro definitely hurt them because not only then do you lose the first tower, you also lose that third kill over to T1, which means they get the feats of strength, they get the upgraded boots, and T1 in a good spot now here early on in game 1.
I know it's only a single kill, but I think it is a great demonstration of the evolution of Chovy as a player, recognizing the development he's needed to make as an individual, becoming a really vocal player as part of this team. You can see that constantly looking to be proactive on the map, constantly looking to trade objectives where they can, and constantly trying to make things happen for his team. They are currently ahead in Dragons, 35 until the third one of the game will spawn. Canyon pathing towards the top side of the map, wants to grab that Scuttle Crab, and it's Keria who's getting that bot side vision first.
And you mentioned the fact that T1 manages to seize the feats of strength here. I always value the Enchanted Boots higher in a composition where the carries in particular do not have mobility built into the kit. Jhin can only run. Orianna can only run. Having the extra move speed could be the difference between being caught or getting away in a critical fight. Still the gold, not even 1,000 apart. That Ocean Drake you mentioned, Vedius, spawning now as we can see everyone congregating around this bottom part of the map. Chovy's ultimate up in 5 seconds as he makes his way over to get in range for the Weaver's Wall. Doran's on the other side of the map, but he has his teleport ready to join.
The map state is so much better for GENG. They were able to get the push out on bot. Faker has now regrouped with his team. Watch out for the Jarvan Orianna combo.
Okay, immediately, teleport gonna come in from Doran as GENG have the Dragon down to half HP. Carry and Owner looking to walk up, maybe make their entry into the fight as Chovy already has to flash defensively to try to get away from Doran. Now the Dragon down to 2,000, Carry is in the middle, it's stolen by Owner! T1 trying to make their entry into the fight now with Keen's already at half HP. T1 backing away. Owner gets the job done. T1 happy with it.
Yeah, T1 get the Dragon, and they're able to get out. It does cost Keria his flash, but it's a great smite there from Owner to secure it. Now, though, looking for a potential re-engage. Owner goes in!
They go in with a shockwave combo on top of the Jarvan, and now they've caught Canyon unaware. He gets away with 100 HP as T1 now trying to back away. Duro thinking about going over the wall. He wants to go in here with the flash, throws up Unbreakable. T1 scrambling, but there's no damage from GENG. Owner's ready to go back in, but he has to flash out after Ruler evades him.
T1 pressed their luck there. They really wanted to contest the red buff, but GENG responds so aggressively, forcing them back out of the jungle. The shockwave comes through, the damage isn't quite enough to take out Canyon. He's able to flash away to safety, and then the counter-attack from GENG.
Exactly, and just track all the flashes being used here. Canyon early flash, then Duro flashes to follow. Faker has to flash a seismic shove. This is now back to the earlier play on the Smite Secure. So this is previous to the replay that we were just watching. You can see this Dragon was getting low. Chovy on the side was being zoned out there by Doran. And Keria goes in, lands some CC here onto Canyon, down to 890, nails the smite.
You could see it went from 2,000 down to 890, so it was just the fact that Smite came slightly earlier from Canyon. The timing goes to Owner. The 50-50 favoring T1 is huge because that would have been soul point for GENG. That would have been a mandatory Dragon fight for T1 for the rest of the game. That is now not the case. GENG, however, ready to teleport in, and it's another fight, this time for the Otacon. GENG putting some damage into it, but it's not
Doran
particularly
has no TP.
dying quick. There's no TP for the Gwen. T1 have to try and do something to stop this. Buy a little bit of time for Doran to arrive. Curtain call opens, but Duro's unbreakable. Chovy zoning everybody away here with the Unraveled Earth. Owner wants to make his entry, but the Otacon is secured by Canyon. GENG have the objective, but what about the fight right after? Owner goes in, Chovy gets out, Owner goes down, Ruler goes off. Keen looking to zone Faker over the back as Doran makes his way into the fight, but he can't snip anybody out. Now he's shot by Ruler, and it's a double kill for the man with the double guns. Faker with a beautiful shockwave to turn the fight at the end, but it's still a 2-for-1 favoring GENG. T1 want a little more. Ruler and Duro trying to escape as Keria and Gumayusi are in hot pursuit. Ruler trying to vamp off the minions. Keria wants to catch him. Gumayusi's low. Ruler looking to turn it around, but he doesn't have the health. Gumayusi lives. Double kill. Faker.
What a crazy fight! The decision-making from GENG was fantastic. They knew that so many summoner spells were used in the previous exchange. They wanted to punish T1, and so they wanted to force the fight.
Now watch Owner here. The seismic shove for Chovy is going to deny his entrance into the fight. When he goes for the flag and drag, he gets flicked back. So that stops his combo. Remember, he had no flash from the previous play. Seismic shove into the ulti from Canyon secures them the Otacon. That was beautifully done. Then Gumayusi coming in on the side here is going to try to get the damage down onto Chovy, but he is being zoned out. Doran is going in, and the fight becomes very chaotic because Faker is over here at really low HP, but he's going to stay around because he still has his shockwave. So as GENG group up here on the chase, finds the opportunity with really low health to set up, and this fight just becomes chaos.
Faker's Orianna Shockwaves, one of the most iconic champions for him as the most iconic player in League of Legends, showing his stuff here in game number 1. And you can see, as of that last fight, Gumayusi 643 international kills, really close to everybody that's not named Faker, who happens to be about 400 ahead of the pack.
And it's crazy to me because I still think of Gumayusi as a new player, but he is such an international veteran because every time T1 shows up to a tournament, it feels like they're winning or they're at least in the finals. They have deep run after deep run, and Guma has been so stalwart for this team, has been incredible ever since his debut.
I mean, and it was a very controversial split, but Guma, he really has shown up throughout spring and here at MSI in particular. He currently remains deathless alongside his carry in the mid lane, Faker. Dragon, 10 seconds. GENG do not have position. Doran doing a good job of pushing out that bottom wave as well. And the tower will fall. A bit of extra gold secured by T1, 4 towers to 2.
T1 with more control over the map. The gold lead favoring them by a little bit shy of 2,000. GENG trying to fight for control of the mid lane push, but it is T1, like you mentioned, Azael, that has control over the river. Canyon wants to step up. T1 burst him down to half HP. GENG, their jungler's hurting a little bit. Calling from Ruler is a big whiff. Important tool there, no longer available as GENG split up and retreat. T1 maintain their control the entire time. Doran has already started the objective, and it looks like Owner and the rest of T1 are now ready to walk over GENG. They used too many resources. Canyon got chunked, but they still might think about it. Doran's gonna run interference. The Dragon is already claimed. Keen wants to go in, and Chovy's firing off the Weaver's wall, but Keen's already all alone, exhausted in the middle of 5. Keen just dies. GENG are completely confuddled, and T1 are happy to teach him a lesson. Gumayusi with another kill. T1, Baron just spawned, and they're invited to come say hello.
It's an overforce from Keen. Ruler and Duro were nowhere near that fight. And T1, poised, calm, collected, punish GENG, shut them down, and will easily secure a Baron.
It's Keen getting a little bit nervous there, a little bit antsy, forcing the play early. Did not seem synced up with his team. Chovy was on a solo mission on the side. Keen went in so early. Ruler had no culling. No one was really able to get any meaningful damage down on the T1 members.
Right, you look at GENG, you see a team that is fine, playing patient, waiting for their moment, and then striking. But this time, the moment had already passed. They had no control over the Drake. It was already claimed. And even though the wall flies out, there's nobody else behind it. Keen is all alone in the middle of 5, and T1 will happily take what feels like the biggest windfall of just the best possible sequence of plays. Now, this game that felt very close is a 4,000 gold lead for T1, alongside the fact that you've got Baron for the next 2 minutes and change to build it even further.
Something we heard from GENG behind the scenes after their first series against T1 was the constant communication of, we need to slow down. We need to take our time. And you can see here in game 1, they're getting impatient, they're overextending, they're over-chasing, and T1 are the ones that are waiting to punish GENG's mistakes. Now with the Baron buff, they're beginning their siege, and they're looking to put more pressure onto GENG.
And Keen is still on the top side. He does have his teleport here, but it's going to be very difficult for GENG to defend. Faker pushes out mid, and now he's going to go top to try to answer. Keen should be able to knock down this tower, and that is a lot of gold in his pockets here, but T1 going to answer with one of their own.
Yeah, Keen doing a good job making sure that he can at least get something back in even trade versus this Baron. They don't want to fight T1 5v5 while they're powered up, so instead it's just a handshake on tier 2s.
And critical to note, Faker, obviously 5 kills, incredibly strong. You would want to make him a target, but he has the early Seekers purchased up after that last fight, and now grabs the Mage Eyes there. Faker feeling incredibly confident in this game number 1. Always a risky purchase, but if you stay deathless, it is going to pay dividends for the GOAT.
Currently, both him and Gumayushi deathless in this game. 5-0-3 on the Orianna, 2-0-5 on the Jin. Faker with a max value bounty, and Gumayushi only slightly behind him. For GENG, that has to be your goal, even more than it normally would be in these upcoming fights. Collect those bounties, try to bring this game back to a sense of parity. Faker's Shockwave finds Duro, but not going to do a whole lot more than chunk him out.
It is worth pointing out, though, Seeker's now purchased for Keen, and Ruler is on 3 items and 3 very powerful ones. Has the Infinity Edge finished, so pressure on Ruler to get the damage done here. Chovy now just finished his rally, so he's on 3 items. GENG not out of this just yet, but it will have to be a great fight.
Beautiful seismic shove from Chovy. Faker buys a little bit of time here with the stasis, and he ain't dead yet. GENG looking for a little more as the Glacial Prison doesn't get a lot of value. Over the wall, Doran has to jump back away as Keen wants another stun, this time on the Gumayushi. Owner re-entering back into the fight as Chovy is trapped inside the Cataclysm. Owner goes back over the wall with a nice EQ combo. Faker down very low. Canyon needs a little bit more damage as Ruler takes out Carrier. T1 on the run. GENG with the defense.
A slight misstep from Faker allows for Chovy to find an opportunity, knocking back the opposing mid laner and setting up for a great team fight for GENG. They hold the line, they get a pick, and GENG saying they are not out of this game just yet.
Yeah, that is massive, and not only do they get Faker's flash, this seismic shove there, he tries to sidestep, but it's a little bit too late. Is able to go golden, though, does survive. Keen has to trade out his own Seekers, but in the extending fight here, Carrier is blocking out so much of this damage here. He steps forward, tanks the culling, tries to keep his carry safe, but as they come in here, Carrier basically has to go back in to try to peel for Faker, and ends up giving his life.
I mean, that ultimate from Chovy was just fantastic. The way that he cut off the team for T1 made the fight very awkward. Guma especially very isolated, forced to use the cleanse, and as you highlighted, Azael, that flash now gone for Faker will be a prime target for GENG.
All right, another stare down, another showdown for another Drake. Both teams tied at 2-2, but look at the shades of Drake claimed by either side. The first 2 from GENG, but both Ocean Drakes since then claimed by T1. They've had the control as the game has gone on. GENG, though, first into the bot side river. T1 ready to step up and challenge this. You can see Keen trying to pick up the red buff, the team-wide red buff for GENG before this fight starts. Doran is coming around on the flank. Keen might just see him here, depending on if Doran gets the skip and slash over the wall in time. Doran's going to be caught out. Keen immediately sees him, but Doran only loses about 1/3 HP. The Drake has been aggroed, pulled, but it's too far down. The patience will be lost, and it resets back towards its home before it can be taken low enough for a smite fight.
Doran's going to TP back. He just went back to base here. He already had the Seekers. He's ready to go pick up some wards.
Okay, Dragon at half HP. GENG still looking to burn this one down. Weaver's wall's already been fired. It's slated, secured by GENG. Canyon here in the front line, but he's not dead yet. Finally going to be cut to pieces. Gumayushi grab the killing spree. GENG defensive positioning, and finally the Jax makes his way in. Owner trying to escape back out as Ruler is under pressure off to the right. Keen in the middle of everybody, trying to do the damage, but it does not work. T1 have already won the fight, and they want even more. GENG running into the wrong side of the jungle, and T1 hunt them down. Chovy sidesteps a deadly flourish as Ruler and Duro try to fight back, but Carrier runs them over. Gumayushi's on a rampage. GENG are aced.
The coordination is simply better for T1. Keen went the long way round to try and make a flank happen, but T1 just focused the target in front of them, and this time it was Canyon. An ultimate comes through from Chovy to try and separate T1 from the fight, but the shockwave only connecting on the Canyon really sets up the fight for T1.
A great double smite there, though, from Duro and Canyon to be able to secure it, but then Owner gets in the back line here. The ult on both the carries is able to get out to safety, and then Guma has been bought enough space that he's winning the duel against Ruler, and that means Ruler and Chovy cannot assist Keen, cannot assist Duro, who are in the midst of all of these T1 members. Chovy's able to get a great seismic shove to actually slow down the chase, but you just know they're on the wrong side of the map, and T1 back to live. We gotta go because they're on Baron.
The Baron is claimed by T1. These fights, not only major wins in themselves for the T1 squad, but the timings setting them up now in back-to-back Baron situations to claim a massive reward after.
T1 is just playing these fights better. Keen is constantly looking for these flanks, but he's taking a little bit too long, and in that last fight you saw, he wasn't able to connect the counter-strike onto anyone as T1 just patiently play around this Jax. Chovy is doing absolutely everything that he can. And I think that if GENG played a little bit more on the front-to-back style, they would have more options, but T1's target selection is good. They're in a great position, and now they're looking to try and close out game one.
And it's just a tough situation here for Keen. He had to use his Seeker's Arm Guard so long ago in that base defense, but he's gotten no gold since then. So he's still just stuck on that Seeker's Arm Guard with no progress towards the Zonias, whereas Faker has finished his Zonias, Owner has finished his GA, Doran has finished his Zonias, and Faker now has 22 stacks on the Magi's here. T1 have all of the luxury items that they will need to try to close this one out.
And I want to go back to the lane phase when we saw Keen winning the early trades, winning the early farm, when we were talking about how this can be very difficult to play the Gwen, especially without a flash in team fights as the game goes on. But that last fight, I think Doran did exactly what he needed to do. You saw the end of team fight damage chart, dealing 5,000 damage on the Gwen to only the 1,500 of Keen's Jax as T1 sets up for a siege. Teleport coming in as Chovy's ready to join up with the rest of GENG. T1 not slowing down, ready for the next minion wave to crash while Doran enchants the wave over in mid at the same time. Canyon throws out a Glacial Prison, but there's no follow-up. Immediately T1 fires back, and GENG have lost their main engage. Owner puts Chovy in the Cataclysm, but he has to get back away. Canyon's about to die. Faker needs a little bit more damage that he will not find, but it just makes space. T1 now firing onto 2 inhibitors at the same time, and bottom and mid lanes will now surge with super minions as the Nexus turrets are under fire. Ruler's calling, very little efficacy as that first Nexus turret is about to drop to the enchanted cannon minions. GENG scrambling for the defense as T1 continue the push. A ton of damage onto Duro, and GENG are not holding. The Nexus is open. Canyon's in the middle of everybody, but he's already down. GENG are no match for the T1 team fighting. Keen goes golden, but it's all too late. Another double for Guma. Faker is godlike, and T1 take game one.
What an impressive performance in game one from T1. They navigate the fights beautifully. Their target selection is exceptional, and they take the game, and they take the advantage in this series.
Absolute signature performance from the Faker Orianna, putting into question who is the best player today. It might just be Faker. What do you think, Jess?